Okay, ek dink ons kan maar begin. Ons het 'n lang aand wat voor lê. Want Simon het so 'n lang CV, dit gaan omtrent 'n halfuur vat voor ons by vergadering begin. So
my oom, jou naam is nou Pinocchio, hoor?
ja, dis so kyk die Madam Chair is besig by vergadering en die Vice Chair die is besig. Nou sit julle met my vanaand en daar gaan my stem ook nou so, maar so maar kyk hoe gaan dit. So dit is julle weet my vergadering so loop hulle altyd 'n geordende de mekaar spel. So ons maar kyk of dit werk. Ek weet nie. Dis so ek het die controls en die goede hierso. Ja, okay. Dis genoeg van daai. Welkom. Dis so op hierdie lekker fris aand, soos gelukkig nie warm nie. So ons kan lekker knus sit hier so by die huis. So ja, baie welkom. Nee, daar is ek daar. Die finansies is okay, sê hulle vir my. Salonne. Hygo, se derde salon. Michael 2. Diane, nee, Michael 1. Diane 2, Salome 1. Parel se vierde salon. Trevor 2. Ja, sê jy. Breek weg daar, Boeta. Tino 2. Diane 3. Ja, julle maak. Een van daar is kop ons stof en sabab se oë. Ek sien dit kom, so. Baie geluk julle, baie dankie. Bevorderings. Hans, 3 ster. Belinda, 3 ster, maar ek dink Hans het by jou afgekyk. Johan van Rensburg, ek dink, jessie, uiteindelik het jy by 3 ster uitgekom. Trevor, 4 star. You'll have to review the judging criteria, not the judging and promotion criteria. We're going to review it shortly to make sure that you stay there, Trevor. You have to keep you down there, so none of I neem jy oor. En dan natuurlik, ons het toe ons hierdie die stergraderings opgestel het destyds, het ons gedink, jy weet, ons maak 8 en die hoogste gradering is op 'n 8 ster en dan sit 'n mens nou maar een heel bo aan wat hopelik niemand sal kom nie en nooit gedink iemand ooit by 8 ster sal uitkom nie. En nou vragtig, ek weet nie. En dit is vragtig nog voor COVID se tyd. So Pieter Thomas, jy is nou amptelik 8 ster wysheer. So knap gedaan.
Well done.
Ons het ja, ons maak seker ons gaan die goed hersien, so gaan seker maak dat jy nie die volgende ene haal nie.
Heel geluk, Pieter.
Dankie. Ja, nee, dit is 'n groot ding. Ek het 'n sertifikaat vir jou hierso, so was hy? Pragtig, so ek sal hom sommer vir jou e-mail.
Self uitdruk. Ja.
Ja, dankie. Dan ons volgende selfoon aand is die maandag, die 4de maandag van die maand. Dit is die 27ste Junie. Die tema is in 'n raam. Simon, ons het hierdie is 'n afsonderlike aand wat ons het net vir selfoonfoto's, so die reëls is jy moet dit met die selfoon neem. Ja. En hy mag nie op 'n komputer kom nie. So selfoon, bewerk selfoon, alles. So geen Photoshop, Karen.
Okay.
Ja. Okay, so en dan het ons dit is 'n bietjie anderster as Klubaand waar hy punte kry. Ons sit die foto's op en dan kies ek iemand om dit net 'n bietjie te bespreek. En dis gewoonlik die ou wat is nou my nuwe reël. En ek sit nou hier, so ek maak die reëls. Die ou wat die vorige geleentheid die foto's bespreek het, dis sy voorreg om iemand te nomineer om volgende maand nou volgende vergadering se foto's te bespreek. En daarmee Nomineer ek formeel vir Albertino. Jy sal die foto's bespreek en vir ons aanwys. Dankie. Gaaf van jou. So. Ons gaan 'n praatjie daarmee saam hê, Simon. Dus nou gaan ek weer jou praatjie steel. Dit gaan oor die ere-toekennings van PSSA. So wat is LPSSA, FPSSA, IPSSA, DPSSA, wat is diamond ratings en al daai goed. So Simon, so ek gaan weer jou goede steel as jy nie omgee nie. Baie dankie. En dis baie gaaf van jou. Ons volgende vergadering, die venue sal aangekondig word. Ek dink dit gaan hierso by my huis wees vir my. Pieter, as jy nie omgee om by jou ook 'n vergadering te hou nie, en as ek julle elkeen kan vra, as julle nie omgee nie, dat julle maar by julle huise die vergadering bywoon, né? Ek dink dit sal werk, so ons sal maar sien. Dalk is ons by Klub, ek dink nie so nie, maar in alle geval, dis die 10de Augustus. Die tema is tegnologie. So, dis alles met drade en ratte en wiele en sulke goede. Is ek reg?
Ja, reg. Technologie, alle technologie. Technologie in en om jou huis. Alles. In en om jou huis. Ja. Maar het is nou inperking nou, ja.
Nee, ons maak dit tegnologie. So tegnologie. So
Het is nie baie tegnologie om ons
ek dink dis so as jy in jou huis sit, is dit reg. Maar in alle geval, ja. Okay.
Technologie.
Alles met ratte en wiele en goeders te doen, okay? Ons ek het nou gelukkig het ek 'n agenda van laas jaar, een van laas jaar se agendas wat ek van werk, so ons kon nie betyds als kry nie, so die naweek uitstappie, maar het ons 'n bietjie uitgestel. So ons sou laas jaar hierdie tyd sou ons wat is dit, Klipkraal toe gegaan het. Wat is die plek? Ja. Okay, ons het dit uitgestel, so is nou nie meer nie. Versnaperinge vanaand wil ek baie dankie sê vir elke ene, moet maar sy eie voor sy eie sorg. So baie dankie. Dan sê cheers. So. Dan is dit dan nou my voorreg om vir Simon Fletcher aan julle voor te stel. Ek het gedag, ek gaan nou nie vir Simon vra nie, ek gaan sommer vir Google vra, my oom Google weet mos al. So tik ek in Simon Fletcher. Toe kry ek 'n rugby speler in Australië, daar's 'n kunstenaar, grafiese kunstenaar in Londen. Daar's 'n koerantredakteur of een van Jeremy Cronin, as julle weet wie Jeremy Cronin is. In die Britse parlement is hy een van die kommunistiese ouens, so hierdie Simon Fletcher is sy raadgewer. En dan het ons eie Simon Fletcher. Nou, hy's nie een van die boogenoemdes nie. So, Simon Fletcher, LPSSA, DPSSA vers. Ons sal volgende keer kyk wat dit is. Simon is huidiglik, is hy die tweede president en nasionale direkteur van PSSA. Simon, as ek reg het, gaan jy dan nou die president van PSSA word oor 2 jaar, of hoe werk dit?
That's if I make it to the next round, yes.
Okay. Good, ja. I'm seker jy sal.
Ja.
Simon is op die bestuur van die Rissenburgse fotografievereniging, dis waar hy eintlik met sy fotografie begin het. Hy is ook lid by Southern Suburbs, waar hy ook op die bestuur dien. Op die Impala trofee lê hy, ek dink, tans op die 3de plek, Simon.
Ja nee, daar gaan 'n bietjie veranderinge wees, oom Riefies. Ons het redelike, die laaste 2 weke is ons besig met daai audit. So ja, daar gaan redelike veranderinge wees, ja.
Ons sien so en verlede jaar was jy tweede.
Ja, verlede jaar was ek tweede, ja.
Met 2 punte agter die voorloper.
So iets, ja.
Nee, baie geluk so. Simon is ook 'n bekwame Excel operateur. Hy is die enigste ou wat ek ken wat beter as ek is met Excel. So en dit is bly goed, moet ek jou sê. So maar hy's nie heeltemal goed nie, anders het hy verlede jaar die Palle trofee gewen. En hy kyk na die punte tabelle in die goeie van PSSA. Hy kyk ook na die standaarde boek van PSSA. En dan kan ek sê Simon is 'n baie goeie vriend. Dit is 'n plesier om hom te ken. So ons is bly ons het hom in ons midde vanaand. Hoe dit gaan werk, ons gaan nou oorskakel na Simon toe, gaan vir ons 'n bietjie gesels oor sy landskapfotografie en daarna sal ons die beoordeling doen. So dis dan oor na jou. Dankie.
Baie dankie om Repies en baie dankie vir daai mooi woorde. Ek is, maar soos jy sê, jy's what did they say? A scientist, 'n wetenskaplike. Is dit die regte Afrikaanse woord?
Yes.
En jou navorsing is nogal goed om Repies. Ek beïndruk. Dan begin 'n ou bietjie blus, nê? Nee. Ja. Ja, baie dankie vir die uitnodiging en baie dankie dat julle almal teenwoordig is vanaand en ek hoop ek sal julle eer met my kommentaar met julle foto's en ek sal bietjie ook sien wat is die goedjies wat jy kan kyk om die foto dalk beter te maak. So ek sal die constructive criticism so uitgee as dit met julle reg is. So dankie daarvoor. Do you mind if I speak English? Ek weet dit is maar bietjie moeilik vir my om die fotografie se terme in Afrikaans oor te skakel. So is dit met julle reg so?
Ja,
Geen probleem.
Geen probleem. Ja, dis baie mooi. So baie dankie. Dit is vir my 'n eer om daar by julle uit te kom of by julle klub te foto's te judge. En hopelik sal dit alles reg afloop en dat julle sal my een of ander stadium weer uitnooi daarna toe. Reg so ek sal oorgaan na my presentation toe. I just want to see how we get this thing started. Back to the meeting and it is share the screen and I think it's my desktop and I share and I just want to put this one away and I think that's it. All right. So Repies het vir my gevra dat ek I think we had a course or not a course one of our guys Gerry Labuskaghni was mentioning that he was doing a presentation on scapes. And one of his things was dealing with all the technical aspects relating to scapes and the like. And at the end, he got two of us in the club to actually present some of our images. And Don Brotherston, I'm sure you all know of Don. He's been with the photography for quite some time. And I was also asked to go through some of my scapes. And then Umripi said, well, would you mind sharing that when you do the judging for us? I said, well, that's no problem. So I'd like to share some of my work with you. Can you see that I've got your photographs on the right-hand side here or not? Or can you just see the full screen?
I see photos.
You
I see your presentation.
Yeah, we see your screen.
Okay,
carry on,
perfect.
Simon. It's fine. Yep.
All right, so the first things that we want to talk about, I'm just going to really just focus on composition. There's basically 4 rules relating to that. And the one really relates to diagonal lines. We all have now heard about it, leading lines. But when you look at that little photograph there, and this is courtesy our friends on Google, you've got the white lines going from left bottom to the right top. And then when you look a little further with the trees, you've also got them following the same line. So what it does do, it guides our eyes, and then we're able to see this beautiful image relating to that. And diagonal lines, in some of my photographs, you will see them. You know, it doesn't always have to be from the left to the right. You know, it can be from the right to the left and top down and those kind of things. So it's very important to actually be able to do that when you look at your landscape photography. We then move over to the geometrical shapes. Now you're saying to me, Simon, well, what is going on with this photograph? You know, some judges will say, look, you know, you got these leading lines going from the center right to the sort of disappearing point there with two trees. Got this man and his cat. Where's the geometric shapes? But if you take, from example, the track that's leading into the vanishing point there, it forms a triangle. And what they've also now done is added some interest into the photograph. It's not just about this road, but it's telling the story. This guy with his cat, unusual, walking into the light, but you're getting the form of a triangle. And then, you know, on the horizon with the grass on the other side, you've also got different types of triangles. So have a look at the shapes when you get into a scene that you want to take photos of. And landscapes, quite honestly, you know, you can do so many types of landscapes, cityscapes, seascapes, and typical landscapes. And I think it's a genre that is actually very exciting. I remember when I entered some of my first images into a salon, there was no ways I was going to get any acceptances. And then I started looking at people's images. And then I quietly to myself said, I want to master this one. I want to really get good at it. And I think when one starts to make that decision about becoming pretty good at a genre, you start reading up, you start looking at the rules, you start looking at all of those aspects. And I think it's quite important to do, you know, from a perspective is that, first of all, technically you must get the basics right. You know, it has to be sharp. Compositionally has to look good. You know, the focus point that your attention is brought to, those kind of things, so that you can really make a difference in your photography. And I think once you start doing that, you start reading up on it, and you'll see, hopefully through my images tonight, that it is about you as an individual having your own signature. There's only one of your signatures, and that should come out in your photography. And I'm sure in your club, you guys see at times when an image comes up, in julle gedagtes, jy weet al klaar wie se foto's daai is. And it's important to have that sort of, as I said, signature. The rule of thirds is another one. It's very important. As you know, an image is divided into thirds. So it's sort of 9 blocks, you know, on the horizontal and the vertical. And those points where they intersect are called the power intersects. And when you look at this image, what is nice is you've got the man and his dog, or woman and his dog. I can't see because I've got these other photos here. Is one on the intersects. So that is really where your eye goes. And it brings perspective. You know, the size of that cliff face. If you didn't have the dog and the person there, you would say, well, how big is that? You wouldn't really know. But as soon as you get person in there, you get that kind of perspective. And again, you've got these lovely leading lines with the water on the left, and then, you know, the beach coming in there. And then on the white cliff face, that is a very long, elongated type of triangle. So it's all about the composition. It's all about the interesting aspects related to that. And then finally, I'm sure you've all heard about framing images. Some clubs, they talk about it from a set and technical perspective. They say a frame within a frame. And as you can see, this beautiful scape. You got this lovely barnyard with a beautiful mountain in the background, interesting sky, and then you've got these 2 trees and the leaves covering over it, which is drawing your attention to the actual barnyard. And those are some of the basics that one needs to get sorted out there. All right, then we move over into some of my photographs that Umrepis has asked me to share with you. And I've divided it into 2 sections, one being mono, 2 being color. So the first one here is what I've called Lightroom. Now, Lightstorm, I think it is. I'm just trying to see if I can hide these things of mine. Okay, I can't. Beg your pardon?
You named it Light Explosion.
Light explosion. Sorry, as I said, I can't see because I've got these images here. I'm just seeing.
Simon, if everybody just switch off the cameras,
Yeah.
that section will get away. So if everybody can just switch off their cameras,
Thank you
please.
very much. All right. So let's go. Let's see how that's all going. Josh, it's amazing when you're not used to your computer. I'm just trying to get right. So yeah, light explosion. Now this was taken down at the Dinosaur Pier in Umhlanga. The wind was howling. I kid you not. I should have actually taken a video on it. So I got Joyce with my tripod and I said, Joyce, you hold onto the tripod as best you can. And I had, I've got my 11-24 lens on there, which as you might know is quite got a big, what do you call it, glass front end. And I had put in I think a 15 stop ND filter on it. So that was catching all the wind. So we had to make sure that there was no vibrations there. It's a very tricky task. And as you can see here, this was done for about 151 seconds at f8 and ISO 100. And I love my long exposures. And I just really like the feeling that one gets of this movement from the center point, this nice white lighthouse, sort of smooth sea, but this light in the sky moving up. Then, my Lord, sorry guys, I'm really, okay, there we go. Then 2 years ago, the PE National Congress of the PSA was held down obviously in PE. And this one is also a long exposure, where also with the 11-24 shot at 14 mils. And 482 seconds. Now, that is a fairly long time. F11 ISO 100. Again, I think I used either a 10 stop or a 15 stop ND filter, really just to get that milky sea. And as you can see there where the six pack is, it's almost like glass. And then you've got this lovely movement in the sky. And a lot of the guys say, well, when the weather's bad, then let's pack our cameras away, let's go inside. And nothing could be further from the truth. When the weather is up, and if you like landscape photography, get your camera out, go outside, obviously be careful if there's lightning, and go and take shots and go and explore, because especially with the black and white, that's when you really get the moody type of photographs. Not everybody's cup of tea, but you know, I certainly really like the long exposures. Again, the key thing here is obviously to make sure that from the front to the back, the image is nice and sharp. Therefore, you'll see most of my images are shot at starting at f8 up to f11, and in some instances here today, I've got f22s. And obviously keeping the ISO down, because when you've got long exposures, you don't want to have all that noise coming through on it. Another one here, and this is an image that's very dear to my heart, Sea Water Streaks. This is the first one where I got a PSA silver medal. I think it was from the Implats Salon. And this one was also down at Umhlanga, shot with a 16-35. So that's a wide angle lens at 16 mils, 1.7 seconds, f11. And again, shooting at ISO 100. But what I liked about this is you've got this beautiful interest on the right-hand side. And the lines, you know, we talked about leading lines. Those lines leading back into the sea really does create movement, and it's sort of that milky and it's almost surreal type feeling. And then obviously in the sky, you've got a slight, not like a slight movement, but not to the same extent that one had in those other very long exposures. And you can see in the foreground, again, you can see that you can almost feel the grit on the sand. I then move over to alien beach rocks. And again, here, it's sort of a different type feel, but look at the sky. The sky's got all of that mood, and you've got these interesting rocks taking place here. And again, 52 seconds so that you get that mist type of effect. And I think also, as a landscape photographer, I think it's quite important to always go back to a place where you've taken photographs. I know that when Joyce and I go down to Umhlanga, and I always make a thing of it, at least 45 minutes to an hour before the sun comes up. I'm down at the beach with my tripod, my cable release, and my camera with my filters. And I get myself organized in terms of that. And I always go back to the similar type of things and take different types of photographs, lower angles, higher angles. And you'll see later when I start talking about that dinosaur pier, what I'm talking about there. And the reason why I say go back there is because every time you go back, there's something different. The water is either a different angle or there's something more interesting taking place. So always explore that. Right, leading into that is the dinosaur pier sunrise. Now you can see the water has receded very far behind there. I've shot that at f/16 to get that starburst. And it really adds the drama to the image where you've got this beautiful light, you've got foreground interest. We talked about the leading line from the top right to sort of the middle of the image. And you can see a lot of detail here relating to this image. The next one here, a different angle here, and again at different times. You've got far more openness in terms of all of this white space. And you've got foreground interest with this little rock with some water running back on it. And then you've got the lovely contrast taking place. Notice that the pier doesn't really have too much detail on it. It's almost silhouetted against the backdrop. And, you know, a lot of the guys, when I'm down there in Umhlanga and I'm taking the shots, the guys only come down when, 10 minutes before the sun comes up. And then you've already missed the opportunity. A lot of the time is that you've got to get there, as I said, at least 45 minutes beforehand. Before the sun comes up, that's when you get your best shots. Because when the sun comes up, if you don't have the right filters, that sun is shooting into it is really going to mess you around. And the same in the evening is that once the sun has gone down, hang around for the next half an hour, 45 minutes. Then you start seeing the beautiful colors taking place. Again, you can see I really love this place. Spring Storm Brewing, also shot at 16 mils, 21 seconds, f/11, ISO 100. And again here, so you've got this water that has sort of become milky because of the sort of not that longer shutter speed, 21 seconds, but you've also got this log landing on the beach. And also the beauty is when you're up there first thing in the morning, you don't have the footprints on the beach per se. And then also you've got in the background, you've got this, what do you call it, those little boats there. So it adds a little bit of context to the image. A lot of the guys also, and remember, ladies and gents, that Google is your friend. You want to know anything about photography, any genre, just type that into Google. You will find reams and reams of information relating to that. And as I said earlier, if you really want to get into a specific genre, like you were talking, Ripis, about the one gent there that does the macro. that's something that I'm interested in. And let me tell you, you can read up as much as you want to. There's nothing more pleasing is learning from someone who understands macro and has been successful at it, because there's a lot of tricks involved in these different genres. And one of them with landscape photography is that generally what some people do is they will take 3 images of the same thing. They will shoot the first third by focusing on this middle ground, the foreground at f11. Then they will focus on the pier at f11, and then they will focus on the sky at f11. And then they will rub on the first image, the top 2/3 out. The middle image, they will rub out the top and the bottom. And the third image, they will rub out the bottom 2/3. And then they will bring them into Photoshop. And then you will see a crystal sharp, pin sharp image from the front right through to the back, because the depth of field would have then run on each of those thirds. And I think that's a very interesting way of doing it, as opposed to shooting at f11, f16. As you all know, the sweet spots on most of these lenses is sitting around f8, f11. So especially if you want to make sure that your image is sharp from the front right to the back, that's another interesting way to deal with it. Again, a different time and a different log on the beach. And then as you can see, the water has run out. Also got this lovely lines coming up there, 2.5 seconds, not much of a shutter speed. The lights was on there, f16 to get the starburst taking place there. And you can see the leading lines here, and almost the triangle and the geometric shapes that we were talking about. And the foreground interest of this log. Then I move over into some architectural type photographs. And this one you can see here really talks about, you know, the Joburg Chambers. Now, this is where Johannesburg municipality is run from. And you can see, well, you look at it and you say, well, yeah, that's fine. But then you start having a look down the bottom there. That's a podium right in the center. Put a person in there. Then you start to realize the size of this building. Look at all the chairs around the side. And then up in the moon, it's like a spaceship. There's chairs and stuff up the top there. So the size of this thing is unbelievably big. But because I'm using a super wide lens here at 12 mils, you know, you can see how big it is. Actually, I should have placed a person in there so that one can really get the perspective relating to that. Now, obviously, geometric shapes we spoke about earlier in terms of the rules of composition. You can see that. You've got these in the center, these beautiful starbursts, and on the curtains leading away from it, those lovely lines. And you've got these geometric shapes and forms, which is really what attracted me to this image. Right, then we move over to Ponte. Those of you who have been under Ponte, you know, you can get some really, really interesting shots there. Again, using the super wide lens at f6.3 at 0.3 of a second, 12 mils. You've got this beautiful geometric shapes, the round circles, the lines coming in from the side, and on the left here, this leading line up into the white, and this pillar at the bottom here. And then, you know, with some lovely dodge and burn, I've managed to get a bit of a starburst, which is unusual at f6.3, because generally starbursts start happening at around f16. So yeah, very interesting. And then using ISO 1000, especially being in there, it's quite dark. And then you've got it, obviously the light blown out from the sky there. All right. Again, architectural. This is the Bowman's building in Alice Lane in Sandton. You've got, again, geometric shapes. You've got the leading lines here. and you've got this beautiful ceiling that's got these lifts running up there and the beautiful lighting. So you can see the lift sort of almost in the center, and then it also gives you an indication, you know, lying down on your back, just exploring that. And there I didn't even use a wide angle lens. I just used my prime 50 lens. Footed up there, shot at f8, ISO 400, and you've got this incredibly sharp type image, which is very pleasing, both in color and in mono. A little bit of a different take on landscapes and scapes is this one here at Lanceria, which is the aircraft graveyard. We've got out there early one morning to take this photograph of this aeroplane using a 1635 normal wide angle lens, f22, so it's sharp right from the front, right through the back, and put this in this beautiful dramatic sky to create this image. So this is a composite typically. Something that I really like. I think it's got a lot of storytelling, and if you're into this kind of thing, it's really rewarding. Then I'll move over into color. Now, again, back down to Mshlanga, Crocodile Rock. So why Crocodile Rock? If you look at that rock on the bottom left, it looks like a crocodile. And, you know, and again, you've got all these beautiful lines, geometrical shapes, lovely colors, you know, oranges and sort of this, I always want to say down in Soldwana, what do you call that, that iron ore type redness. And then in the sky, you've got this beautiful yellow coming through there and this beautiful misty water. Again, shot at f11, ISO 100. Dramatic sunrise. Again, similar type thing. You've got all of this focus right in the center. Here's the diamond type composition that we're looking at. In the beginning, your eyes are straight in the middle. You've got some beautiful rocks here, but really this one here is about the dramatic sky and the detail leading to that. And then these leading lines where the sunrise has caught the water in the sand. Rock pool. Using a polarizer here again. The polarizer, as you know, takes off the reflection from the water and enables you to see in there. You've got a 22-second exposure and ISO 100 again, and you've got this, you know, beautiful panoramic crop associated with this. And the lovely colors, you know, the blues and the yellows, which are complementary. And nice detail in the rocks, you know, some dodging and burning and bringing out some of the selective saturation in those areas. Morgan Bay seascape, also again, just different view, running 33 seconds, obviously using a filter, an ND filter here, most probably a 6-stop or a small stop. And again, beautiful lighting, you know, there's no compromise or no comparison with the beautiful morning sunrise light and then late evening. It just really makes it great. And then obviously for mono shots is when the weather is really rough and about to rain and that kind of thing, you can really get some dramatic photographs. Hole in the wall, 349 seconds. You know, when you're taking these kind of shots, you've got to be very careful that you don't allow light in it. At the back of where you normally look through your lens cap, no, you're not your lens cap, through the eyepiece, you know, you would have to block that off, because when you're running these long exposures, any light leakage, you have a problem. And when you look at this image quite carefully in the center, you've got a bit of a color cast. So that's another thing you've got to be careful of. If you're going to go into these long exposures, extreme long exposures, you need to make sure that in Photoshop, you are correcting these, what do you call it, aberrations from a tinting perspective. All right, we then move over to the Valley of Desolation. This one was a sunrise over it, you know, shooting straight into the sun, getting a bit of a starburst taking place there, and then the rings just off it. And then just look at the colors that you're getting coming off the rocks there. Shot at 11 mils, 1/40th of a second, and ISO 2000. because it was a really sort of like a miserable day. I think it had been raining quite hectically. You'll see in a couple of photographs later. And you really just want to make sure that you've got enough shutter speed there to deal with this. I think a lot of judges would shoot me out of the sky because of that bright white. But, you know, at the end of the day, that is what God gave us that day. And, you know, you've shot it as it is. You know, you haven't gone and manipulated the photographs relating to that. Next one, again, different sort of take. And again, possibly a bit earlier or later, I need to find out. Also, ISO 2000 here. 1/200th of a second, f8. So in other words, it's fairly sharp from the front to the back. As you can see, I've tried to bring out the textures of these rocks here, the Valley of Desolation there on the right. And in the distance, you've got this beautiful sunrise taking place there where you're getting the sun rays happening. And then the water pool. So remember, I said to you, it had been raining quite badly. And I think we were there in Graaff-Reinet for maybe 2 days, 3 days. But every morning and every afternoon, we made sure we got back there because you just didn't know what was brought up there. So when you have a look at this photograph, some foreground interest, you've got the reflection of the rock taking place. You've got these beautiful complementary oranges and blues and purples and with the greens here and there, which really makes for a nice, interesting photograph. And then this one again, a different angle, shooting now almost 180 degrees the other direction. And in the valley there, you could see the sunrise. And that's why I've labeled this one here, Sunrise in the Valley Below. You've got those lovely lines in the sky there. You've got these beautiful geometrical shapes taking place. And the actual Valley of Desolation, the fingers leading up there, which really makes it nice. And then the nice green foliage with all of its sharpness, really makes for an interesting photograph. And then finally, down in the Western Cape, when we had the Western or Cape Photographers Congress, which we went down to. And ladies and gents, if you do have the time and the inclination to go on one of these congresses, is really worthwhile. You meet like-minded people, and generally the places that they go to are really nice. And with landscape photography, don't go and do that which everybody does. Go up into the mountains, go and find your unique space. So here we parked our cars, and then I think we took a 30-minute, 45-minute walk, and again, way before the sun came up, and we went and found a nice location, got the foreground interest, you know, rolling hills and this beautiful sunrise with these dramatic clouds coming up. And, you know, you just are rewarded with lovely photographs. Again, bitterly cold. So when you are doing these things, make sure you've got the right kit. You know, get these gloves that, you know, you're able to fold back the fingertips so that you can take the shots. Make sure you got your beanie on. Make sure you dressed warm boots and warm socks, because there's nothing worse than when you go and do these things when you've got weather conditions like this, that if you're cold and miserable, it'll most probably be the first and the last time you do it. But what do they say? If anything is worth it, there's a little bit of pain in that process. And you will get the shot, whereas the other people will most probably still be lying in bed. And Riepies, ek dink dis my story, my uncle.
Baie dankie, Simon. Jy het vir ons nuwe lig gebring op dinge. Ek dink ons raak nou moeg vir hierdie vasgekluister as ons die dag wat die hekke oopmaak gaan dan spat ons. So hierdie natuur roep, die veld roep. En moenie vergeet nie, die hoë veld is self ook, het ook sy deel van foto's. Gaan soek maar. Dis die vlaktes met daai bloekombome en goede, en as jy gelukkig is 'n paar wolke en so aan. En baie dankie, Simon. Ons is ja, dit was baie interessant.
Nee, dankie Riepies. Is daar dalk enige vrae van die lede? Nee, okay.
Dis hy. Ons kan nou
Simon, sorry. Simon.
Yep. Michael?
Michael, ja. Die Joburg Chambers, Was it a multi-exposure
No,
at the end?
that one was one shot that I took. One shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your kudos. Amazing. The detail.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I think when you get it right, you know, you've, regardless of what people tell you, you've got to use and get yourself a good travel tripod. I've got 3 tripods. One is this, I think you could mount a 50mm Canon on it. It's that robust. But I mean, to lug that thing around on landscape photography, yeah, I'm getting too long in the tooth for that. Dare I say that? But then I've also got another carbon fiber one, which also works relatively well. But then a friend of mine, Derek Dupré, he bought himself a little travel tripod that can take sort of 8-9 kilos. And let me tell you, that's my go-to tripod now. And you've got to use that. And make sure that you bop out all the dials, and make sure that you've got a decent cable release as well, so that your hands are not on the camera. And ladies and gentlemen, do the mirror lockup, so you don't get the what do they call it?
Initial shake.
Slap or whatever it is. Sounds horrendous. And then the other thing is on the Canon is that you've got that little magnifying glasses. Click that once and twice, and then go into the point of your focus, and then put it on manual mode. Once you've done with your shutter button, you've held it in and it locks in. Put your lens onto manual, and then on viewfinder is just synchronize or just finely tune your lens into that point that you're focusing. And then if you're using f8, f11, f16, your image will be good. Those are some of the little tricks that I would urge you to consider. Any other questions? Thank you, Michael.
Dankie. Nog iemand? Ja, kan ons maar oorgaan na die foto's toe? Wil julle so 'n oombliekie net daai ding uit die pad uit kry? Wil ons 5 minute breek vat, of sal ons direk die foto's gaan kyk? Daar's nie...
I'm okay, Ombriepies.
70. Kan ons maar begin?
Ja,
That's a good idea. Simon, ek dink tog, if you just shout out the score, and it'll make it a bit easier on my side.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you don't want me...
Yeah, don't worry about the chat.
Okay.
Just give me the score. I'll enter it, and then I will calculate the award.
Okay, and then Urepis, you also work on the 15-point score. Is that correct?
On 15-point score, yes.
And again, any differentiation between the juniors and the seniors, or is it almal
It's alles deur mekaar, Simon.
Okay, good. And then you've got a sliding scale that compensates for that.
It compensates for that, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Dankie, Ombriepies.
Dan gaan ons, as ek nou, waar is my, daar sê, share screen, let me see. Share screen, yeah. Got to go. Wasgoed was in Laingsburg.
So, Ombriepies, let's give that a 12.
En dit is Marita vir Karen.
Baie mooi, Karen. And Karen, I really like this image. It's got a different angles. I love the complementary colors, the yellows and this blues. You've seen that, that's beautiful. You've got foreground interest with this lovely washing line that is being put together, and then these lovely clothes swinging on that. And then you've got this little cat that's on this table that also just adds a little bit to that. I think you might have some people saying, well, you know, the door looks a little that is leaning to the left. You know, you must probably shot this with a wide angle lens. Just have a look at that. You can correct that in Photoshop. But yeah, I think nicely done. I think you've got a nice, elegant border. I think it's well done. Thank you.
Okay, just a moment. The title did not appear on top, did it?
Nee,
Okay, ek wil net gou okay, kom ons kyk wat gebeur. Deserted Clubhouse.
okay. Let's give that 11.
11 goud vir Anne-Marie Robertson.
Anne-Marie, baie mooi. Here you've gone and thought about it. You've seen the dramatic clouds. You've gone out there and you've taken this photograph. I think your dynamic range that you've handled is good. Just be a little careful on the houses, especially the one in there, the sort of almost to the center. That could possibly be on the blown out side, but that I don't think. I think it just looks that way. So what else can I say about this image? I think you've got the rule of thirds taking place here. So 1/3 is where you've got the base of your photograph. I think what one needs to be careful of, Anne-Marie, is if you have a look at these two, I think it's braai areas, or it's either wooden stomper. It looks like you've almost cut those off. So what I would have done is come down a little bit lower. You've always got to be careful of that because the sky is beautiful, but you've got enough space in the sky. Is maybe, I don't know if it's a crop or whether you've still got part of that image, but come down a little bit lower. And then on your top left-hand corner, this tree here, you've cut out some of that tree. So one's just got to play around with that one a little bit. Okay. What else? Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I would also possibly consider lifting my saturation. I know we're in the high field. You've got a little bit of green here, but I would have lifted the saturation, the vibrance just a little bit to bring that in there. But otherwise, well done. Thank you.
Sure. Junior.
Yeah, that's lovely. Let's give that a 12. Very good.
Thank you. That's Marita for Peter Robertson, 4-star.
Okay, Peter, baie nice, lovely action of this little guy. I think you've handled the light very well compositionally. It's done nicely. I like the blurred background. Your border is nice and elegant. And there's a little bit of light in the little guy's eyes. And I think the textures coming through it is really nice. What would I do differently? Maybe, no, I'm quite happy with it. Thank you.
Okay. Doring story.
Sure. Nice close up here. That one I'd give it 12 as well.
Dankie. 12 Marita for Belinda Prinsloo, 3-star.
Belinda, nicely done. You've got this beautiful subject matter. I love the colors. I love the textures. I love the detail. It's sharp where it needs to be sharp. Your depth of field you've handled very nicely. Man, I like it. Very nice. I don't think you've got a border on there, but you know, it's something that one can consider. But yeah, I like it. You know, people will say, but it's right in the middle. But I think it adds to it. You've got these lovely lines. Which is in the grain of the wood, I would imagine. And then obviously this, these thorns in itself, that's where the interest is. What you might want to do if you've got neck collection is stick that into neck collection and then do dark and light in center, where in other words, you bring light more to the center of these thorns, and it just brings a bit of a net to the borders there. But the lovely colors, I think it's well spotted. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you. Sabi Forest.
Okay, a bit of a creative image here. Let's see. Let's give that one an 11.
Dis 11 goud vir Diane, 4-star.
Diane, lovely. I love your creativity relating to that. The image is nice and sharp. You can see this ellipse and bulging out here. I think that's been very nicely done. Now, why not higher? can you imagine if you had a person or a little girl running in there? So it's a photograph of this beautiful forest, but you also, what are you telling the story about? Is it about the forest, or is there something more in this? So these are the kind of things that we just need to have a look at. But other than that, I love the creativity and keep on trying that. And next time, if you've got a little girl, a little boy, or an old person, that's walking, get them to walk in your image. Just adds a little bit more storytelling to the image. Thank you.
Ja, vat my saam volgende keer.
Ja, nee, wragtig.
Lonely Oryx.
Okay, lovely. Let's give that a 12. Am I being too generous, Repis?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Dis Marita vir Johan van Rensburg, 4-ster.
Yeah, Johan, do you remember that rule that we spoke about earlier, the triangle? You've managed to get that here. You've got on the, just at the edges of the image at the bottom here, leading up into the top there, and then you've got this beautiful oryx there at the right time. That's what I like, is when you bring it up, it has impact. You've got the beautiful road, and then the complementary colors, the sort of yellows, oranges with this beautiful blue sky. It's nicely done, and I think that is almost an image that one would be prepared to put up against your wall. I would also consider, but maybe not, just have a look at what that one looks like in mono, with a bit of boosting of the contrast, dodging and burning, and that kind of thing. And also, when you have a look at the shadows from the oryx on the right-hand side, you can see that's late afternoon or early morning. So, yeah, I think very nicely done, Johan. Thank you.
Okay. Voetspore konvooi in die Drakensberge.
Sure. Okay. All right. Let's give that one an 11, Repis.
Right, dit is goud van Marinda, 2-star.
Okay, Marinda, very well done for a 2-star. I like what you're seeing. Got this leading line going and snaking over the top, which is accentuated by all these cars. I also like the fact that on the left-hand side, you've got this fence running down alongside that, and you've caught that nicely. Nice and sharp there. You've got your dynamic range is nicely handled. Also, what I would suggest you do is sometimes go 2 or 3 steps to the right and get a different angle. It's always try that. Is always don't get 5 shots of the same thing. Is try the different angles relating to that. But other than that, I think nicely done. Thank you.
Yep. Ligtoring.
Okay, 11.
Dis goud vir Grobby, 4-ster.
Robbie, by and nice. So when we have a look at this image, you've got it almost smack bang in the middle, but I think for me that is not distracting. You've got on the left-hand side of the lighthouse, it's sort of light white, and on the other side it's sort of the darker, which indicates that the sun is sort of on the left-hand side. You've got these buildings at the base, which I think balances it out. So why not anything higher? I think if I have a look at the lighthouse on the top there, I might have just taken the shadows and boosted them up a little bit in terms of camera raw. And also, again, look at the sky. It's that blue, blue, blue sky. It's a lot of the time you want something in the sky. In this image, I think it works. But I think, Robbie, either up early or late afternoon, try and take those shots where you've got some cloud. I know it's pretty difficult, but then also consider moving this into a mono and then do some real dodging and burning. You've got the lovely, what do you call them, marks just down the middle of that thing, is just accentuate those colors and dodge and burn, dodge the lights, burn the darks, just to bring some more texture relating to the image. Thanks. Repeat.
Yep. Hondepret.
Okay. All right. I want to give that a 10.
Okay. It's silver for Terry, 4-star.
Sorry, Terry, about that. But when I have a look at the image, what do I like about it? You've captured this beautiful action. And you've got the catch light in the eye, and the dog's focused on this object that it's about to catch. I think what, from my side, what has let you down here is I almost feel the whole image is the water's rushing out onto the right-hand side. So I don't know if I'm wrong in terms of that, but when you especially look at just below the dog's mouth on the difference between the dark and the light, you know, it's certainly running down to the right. So just correct those things. Judges really get a little bit hell-bent on that. So just correct that. I can see the eye is sharp, but I'm just saying, could it be sharp? And I think my initial impression when I looked at the dog, it felt with his coat, it was a little bit on the soft side. And I'm trying to find out in the splashes, where is that the sharp point there, or where it is at its sharpest. So I think those are just the kind of things that one needs to be aware of. Make sure that you've got your spot metering on the eye of the dog. You're running an F8 at least in terms of this. And obviously at ISO 100, if you can't get to the shutter speed that you require because you want to freeze the action, is, you know, take up, depending on the camera that you're using, maybe up to ISO 800 just to compensate for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Who are you?
Oh, nice. Let's give that 11.
That's gold for Trevor Borchert, 4-star.
Trevor, nicely done. Very cleverly done. With this art in the background where the person is looking down at this young lady and saying, "Who are you?" I think your title is very appropriate. I like the pose. I think what one needs to be careful of is almost like you need a platform on which she is sitting to see a little bit more of that. So I think you could have cropped that a little bit further down. If you have still got that, try that. And then I think just be careful when you look at her, she looks a little bit on the orange side. So in Camera Raw filter is that you've got the saturation, is bring down the reds and bring down the oranges a little bit, because that will bring a more natural color to this lady in the image. And I think that's my comments related to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Swartberg Pas.
11.
Oops, coming.
This is down in the east, Prince Albert Way, isn't it?
Swartberg Pas, yeah. That's gold for Albertina.
Yeah, Albertina, very nicely seen. What I like here is you've got the image that is sharp right from the front to the back. You've got these sweeping roads that are leading into the distance where you've got those two houses. And funny enough, that yellow just works in the sense of it. I love the textures that you've got going. And you've got the nice dynamic range taking place here. Yeah, I think well done. Thank you.
3 tulpe.
12.
12. Dis goud vir Doreen Thomas.
Doreen.
6-star.
Beautifully done. It's sharp. Your lighting is beautiful from the top in threes. Lovely background that's blurred, nice and sharp and elegantly posed. Compositionally very nicely done. I think just be careful of the border. It is almost dominating. Is take that down almost quite a lot more down. You don't want to see it that prominent. The focus is actually on these three tulips, but very nicely done. Keep that work up. Well done.
Okay. 51.
Yeah, let's get that 11.
That's silver for Peter Thomas, 8 star.
Okay, Peter, lovely action that you got taking place here. Movement in the tires, so from a panning's perspective, that's nicely done. I think what is distracting for me is I'm almost sense that it is not as sharp as it could be, but that maybe might be my eyes that I need testing here. Compositionally, I think it is nicely done. I would have liked to have maybe just seen in his face just a little bit of lightness coming through there, maybe through a little bit of dodging there. And, I would have also done some burning just to accentuate the color, the different contours of that motorbike. And I would also think about, just look at your, I want to say saturation, but it's not saturation, it's your vibrance. Just have a look at that related to this. But otherwise, well done. Thank you.
Ja. Toe raak ons dors.
Okay, let's give that an 11.
Right, that's silver for Salome Lions, 5 star.
Okay, Salome, a lovely image. I like this family and the repetition that is going here with the trunks and everything. It's beautifully done. Y11 is that, and that you heard me humming and ahhing, is if I look at your vignette on the top left and top right hand corners, that is what is slightly distracting for me. You've got the beautiful textures going here, and it's almost, it's distracting and it's not making the image look that real. So I think just have a look at lightening your vignette, or not making it as prominent associated with that. And maybe also in the center, just bring your lightness and light down in Camera Raw Filter. You've got those 2 tabs, the basic one and the other one next door to it, where you can just bring down the lightness and just move up your darkness a little bit, just so that you can get a little bit more, not this lightness taking place here. And also in Camera Raw Filter, you've got that texture slider. It's just put that one up a little bit there. And I would also possibly just have a look at your vibrance and maybe just add a little bit of vibrance. Not much, but just a little. Thank you.
Ja. Bospatrijs.
Okay, 12.
Goud vir Mareppies.
Oh, my uncle. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah, look, this little oak is nice and sharp. You got his eyes pin sharp. You got the catch light in there. There's beautiful detail in the feathers. Your background is very nice. It's complementary, and you've added a bit of foreground interest there, or you've captured it with those couple of leaves, which adds to me. In the wildlife, obviously, this is the shot that you would put into the nature category. If you put it into the open category, I would have removed those couple of stones there because they are slightly distracting, those white ones. But other than that, Umripis, the nice depth of field, I think it's nicely handled. Uncle, I think your borderline on the bright side, so just tone that down a little bit. But baie mooi gedoen, hoor.
Righto, thanks. Sunset.
Okay, 10.
It is silver for Anna-Marie Robertson, 4 star.
Okay, Anna-Marie, so what have you seen here? You've seen this beautiful, I guess, sunset taking place here. And you've taken that and you've captured that nice. This is actually what this image is about the sunset. It's not about these houses here in the foreground. In fact, they are quite, I would say, distracting, and they take away from that. So why the 10? If you look at where this house is, to the left of it in the sky above the thing there, you've got a big black dot there, which I think is a dust spot. Those are things that are, guys, the judges will give you a hard time about that. And you've got to make sure, in Camera Raw Filter, there is a tab with adjustment brush. You switch on visualize spots, you take it up, and then you can see these spots. You need to take them out. So I would have either focused on and got the right exposure for the clouds, so that I would have almost got silhouettes at the back for the foreground. I would have turned slightly to the left or moved away that I didn't get any one of these houses in there, because it's this beautiful sunset that one is going there. I almost want to say it's maybe not as sharp as it could be. And if I have a look at the foreground, it's almost that it is a bit grungy. And I don't know if it is the camera battling with the dynamic range, but I'm not sure on that. So, and then also be aware, I don't know what's happened with your border, but I can see it running down on the bottom and on the right hand side, but I don't see it on the left hand side and on the top. So I don't know if your stroking of your image is done appropriately relating to that. So those are kind of things that one needs to have a look at. As I said, when you have a shot at a scene, take the image from multiple advantage points, and also listen to my comments relating to about the houses. It's not really adding much to this image, to be honest with you. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure. Be a winner.
Okay, 11.
Dis goud vir Karen van der Mest, 1 ster.
Wow. Sure, for a 1 star, that's brilliant. So with a 1 star, we're looking for sharpness. We've got the sharpness. We're looking for a little bit of composition. In fact, we're not. It's just sharpness. So you've got that right. Compositioning, I think you've done this nicely. You can even see the dust on this little oak. Your depth of field, I think, is well handled. You've got the beautiful blurred background. You've got the nice little border on it. I think it's well done. Thank you.
Yep. Rooi dakkies.
Okay, interesting. Let's give that a 11.
Ons sê dis goud vir Hans Prinsloo, 3 ster.
Hans, by nice. I love these images where it's typically a mono, but you've brought through the red. In fact, I've got about 3 of these things hanging up at home. So yeah, nicely done. I think I like your idea, and you've gone and experimented with this. What I would also just be careful of, if I look underneath the house there, you know, I'm just sort of saying, is this as sharp as it could be? And it is sharp, but it could be sharper. One's just got to be careful, because this is a mono and you've got the red taking place here. This one would be entered into the color open section. You can remove these aerials and these kind of things, these distracting bits. Remember, your eye goes towards the white. So you've got these chairs in the front ground, so your eyes are going there. Then the bit in the roof, and definitely on the top of the roof, you've got those antennas. Just clone those things out. And on the bottom left-hand side of this house, next to the gutter, you've got that white part. It's just clone those things out, because your eyes are going there. And just do a little bit of housekeeping on the walls here, just below those white chairs. There's a couple of dots there. There's one on the right-hand side. Just what you do, just spot remove those things here. And I would just lift the saturation on the red a little bit, just to bring it into a more richer red, and see what that looks like. And then possibly with the mono is push up your contrast, so you get the whites and the darks taking place there, because it's almost like it is a bit of a flat image relating to that. Some dodging and burning also would not harm. Okay, Mrepis, dankie.
Ja. Bosveld son.
Yeah, lovely. 12.
En dis Marita vir Belinda Prinsloo, 3 ster.
Very nicely done, Belinda. I think compositionally you've got this spot on. You've got this lovely silhouette. You're shooting into the light, very brave, but I think you've pulled it off. Some people might say it's blown out, but I think it works because when we do look at the sun at that time of the day, it is bright. You've got a lovely dynamic range taking place because you've got the clouds in the sky there, and the backlight on this grass in the foreground here, I think is beautifully done. There's enough detail in the grass, and it works for me. Yeah, I'll just consider a darkish border, a light one, but beautifully done. Thank you.
Yep. Guitar man.
Yeah, this is done well. 12.
En dit's Marita vir Aand, 4 star.
Yeah, Diane, lovely shot. You know, any of us that have done the ballet, you know that lighting is tricky. Luckily, this image is got, or this would look like there was an ample light here. You've captured a great moment. The image is sharp, compositionally nicely done. The only thing I know it is a tad tricky. You've got this person in the background, and on the edge of the image where you've cropped it, you've got something there. I would have a look on the right to see what else is there where you can include, but there's most probably a good reason why you've cropped it off. In terms of the floor, I think you've handled that and cleaned that up from a housekeeping perspective nicely. So there's a good action taking place here. Again, in camera raw filter, maybe what I would have done is looked at dark and light and center, bring the center point into where the interaction is taking place between the man and the woman, and then have the background slightly darkened, which is the sort of vignette associated with that. But otherwise, well done. Thank you.
Yep. In die kloof.
In die kloof. Yeah, stunning. 12.
Dis Marita vir Johan van Rensburg, 4 star.
Yeah, Johan, beautifully seen. You've captured the scape with this beautiful light falling in the gorge there. You can see that even on the top there, the light green, but this beautiful golden yellow that you've got taking place here. And then to add context and perspective, you've got this boat down the bottom here, not quite on the power intersect, but it works. I might have to improve the image in terms of camera raw filter on the basic tab and the next tab, and I can't think of for the life of me what the name of it is. I'll bring down my lights, I'll bring down the lightness just a tad, and maybe just increase the contrast a little bit, and just have a look at your vibrance. Maybe you can just boost that up a little bit, but I think other than that, nicely done.
Yep. Laatmiddag rus met sonsondergang.
Oh, there's a cat there. Right, let's give that 11.
Dis goud vir Marinda, 2 ster.
Miranda, very nicely done. Lots of storytelling here. You got the sun that's setting down there on the horizon, and then you've got this beautiful tree, and guess what? You've got a leopard stuck in it. Wow. Why not a higher points? For me, the image is not as sharp. You heard me hesitate in the beginning. And again, here you tricky lighting. You're shooting into the light, the sun's going down. You want to capture, you know, this leopard and this tree, but you also want to make sure it's balanced off with the sun that's setting in the horizon there. And in the in-between, it looks very, very soft. And I guess that's just the lighting and the atmospheric conditions at that point in time. So, you know, I think, you know, possibly F8, but, you know, when the light goes like this, you've got some real challenges there. Love the oranges taking place, some of the green that is coming through here. So for a 2-star worker, compositionally nicely done. And, you know, if I look at the tree, I think that's nice and sharp. Thank you.
Ja. Ou kliphuis.
Yeah, let's give that 11.
Goud vir Grobby, 4-star.
Grobby, nice, well gedaan. I like this image. Why? I love the textures that you got. These rough stones. You've got this foreground where even more of these clipper are standing, and then you've got the actual brick there. The sky a bit blown out there in terms of not having much of a dynamic range. And also, Grobby, I think if one steps back a little bit, open up the frame so that we can see the baseline here of where this door comes in, would be my thing. And then if you had, again, like I said to the other photographer earlier, if you have a person in this photograph that had maybe was walking or coming through, you know, can really add to this image. Because what is this image about? Is it about this ruin? Is it about the stones? Is it about die plek is verlate? What is it? What is the story you're trying to tell? So just be careful of that. Also, if you have a look at this white rock in the front, your eyes are generally going there. So as I said, you know, step back a little bit, open up your focal length from a wideness perspective, and let's see what else you get there. Maar anders is gedoen, wel gedaan. Love the colors.
Yep. Skindermaatjies.
Right, let's give that 11.
Dis goud vir Terry, 4-star.
Okay, Terry, you've seen a very interesting interaction between this flamingo and this other bird.
Gull.
A gull. Is that right, Mripi?
Yeah,
What did you
gull,
say?
yes.
Yeah, so lovely. I can see the eye of the flamingo, nicely done there. And as I said, you know, the interaction, the top is appropriate to your subject matter. And I think, you know, why not higher points? It's possibly that the image looks a little flat, but again, it was probably an overcast day. And, you know, it's just one of those things. But I think the fact that you got the eye there and the interaction with the gull taking place, I think is good for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Drawing done. Now color in.
Okay. I think this is a 10.
It's silver for Trevor, 4-star.
So Trevor, I love the colors. I love the idea that you had taking place here and the macro shot. So you're going to say to me then, Simon, why a silver? Okay, so when we look at this image, you can see the pixelation and it is not sharp where it needs to be sharp. If you look at that pencil that's apex, it's not crystal sharp. And especially with macro photography, these things have to be beyond doubt crisp and sharp. Also, I can see little specks there. Sometimes, you know, housekeeping, because this will be an open color, you are able to clean out those specks. Just be careful of them. If you have a look at the shaving around that brown pencil, it is not as sharp. And if you look at the tips of these pencils, Terry, it has to be crystal sharp. I almost get the sense that you were standing back a bit and then this was just cropped, but quite heavily cropped, because then you're getting this pixelation, but I could be wrong relating to that. Also, if you look at this little pencil on the bottom right-hand side, you've got a little bit of whiteness. It's just clone that out. It's little housekeeping things. Take off these little dust masks, because again, it is supposed to be the close-up associated with that. And the top of that purple pencil, you've got those couple of dots. It's just remove those. All right. But otherwise, well tried. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Koning Protea.
13.
That's right. You found the 13, Simon. Okay.
Yeah.
Doreen,
But look,
6-star.
who's that for?
Doreen.
Doreen. Yo, Easter. Stunning. When it comes up, it pops. It has impact. I love your colors. I love your background. It's pin sharp where it needs to be pin sharp. And you know what? The Protea is beautiful. I really love it. Compositionally, you've handled it nicely. The lighting is sublime. And then I just think your border, just be careful. I would just tone it down. It's just a little bit too much. But beautifully, well done. Well deserved of the COM.
Yep.
Marita.
That's right. Beverly?
Beverly, I'll give that 11.
And that's silver for Peter Thomas.
Okay,
With his
so what do I like about the image? You've got this lovely model. You've got the focus on the eyes. You've got the catch light in her eyes. But what is letting me down is when you look at the pose with her hand, it looks a tad awkward. You know, one of the things that one needs to do, especially if you want to start getting into the portraiture, is go onto Pinterest, and again, Google is your friend. Go and look at these kind of images, the ones that you like, and create yourself a board, portraits, and put the stuff in there. So she looks a little awkward with that hand of hers, and I don't think there's any baie vleiend on the model nie. And, you know, from a skin, so for other positives, I think the skin softening looks okay. Just below on her lip, you've got a little bit of a black mark there. Those are the kind of things that you must remove and take out there. Your lighting, I think you've handled that okay. And then some of these little beauty spots, you know, I'm inclined to take those out a little bit. And, you know, maybe what you need to do is try this one in portraiture. Because the image just, for me, just feels a little bit on the flat side. So just have a look at that. So don't get upset with the silver. It's still a good mark, but part of the club is learning. And I hope the comments that I'm passing are not seen from an arrogance perspective, but it is a constructive feedback relating to that. And as I said, Pinterest and Google are your friends. Go and have a look at how guys do this stuff and experiment accordingly. Thank you.
Yep. Young Blom.
Young Blom. All right. I'm going to give that one a 11.
Dis goud for Elise, 4-star.
Okay, Elise, nice. The image is nice and sharp, compositionally nicely done, lovely colors, and the like. Can you imagine this with a sort of a charcoal or a dark background? How much more impact it will have? Why do I say that? When you look at any image, what are the things that we look at, or where do your eyes go? They go to the sharpness, they go to the whites, they go towards the color. Okay, and when we look at it, this image is primarily white. So your eyes are already with this white background, and actually you want the people to be focusing on the flower. So if you have a look at the Protea that got the 13, go and take this again. Go and experiment again. Put this against a dark background with, you know, and the lighting coming onto this. And I think you will be very surprised, because I think this is just lost in that sea of white. My personal opinion, and you may disagree there with me, but well tried and well done. Thank you.
Ja. By die watergat.
Aha, it almost looks right. We had that photograph earlier. Okay, so this one, let's give this one a 12.
Ja, dis goud vir Salome.
Okay, so when I have a look at this image compared to the other image, also beautiful storytelling. Do you see the difference between this one and the previous one? I like the colors. It's not that bright. You've got the lovely browns and the grays. You've got the repetition. The repetition here is not as good as the other image. The other image had much better repetition, but I think the processing is what let you down in terms of that. The way this image is nice and sharp where it needs to be. You've got the lovely textures, you know, in camera raw filter, you've got that texture slider. Just move that up a little bit. You can do some dodging and burning just to accentuate the textures on the Ellies. And maybe if I look at this little guy on the left-hand side, he's possibly a little bit on the bright side. So you can bring down your lightness in the light on a selective basis, put a mask in there and then just paint over that. Just, selective manipulation in terms of those kind of things would work nicely here. But other than that, full of storytelling, lovely image. Well done. Thank you.
Yeah. Pin cushion.
Okay, 11.
Okay. Dit is goud vir Anne-Marie, 4-star.
Okay, jy pyn my uncle.
Trying to do 3 things at the same time.
Yeah, that's a bugger, eh? Okay, nicely done. I'm just trying to get this thing sorted out here. Okay. If I have a look at the top of the image, it's nice and sharp. I like the colors. I think you've captured that well. So why not a higher point? I think in the bottom left-hand corner, there's something there that bothers me. I think there's an aberration and I can't really see it because now this thing has come up that I can't really see here. I just want to see, just give me a second, fit to window. Oh man, the size. Oh man, okay. So yeah, and then also I think from my perspective, the background is just too light and it's almost bland. It's not interesting. Had we had some, some squiggles and wiggles in there and some textures, what I'm saying, that would have done nicely for me. And again, more on the dark side so that you've got the beautiful green and the yellows and these beautiful reds coming out in there because the image is nice and sharp. Thank you.
Ja. Blou kappie is nie blou nie.
Okay. Let's give that an 11. Uncle.
Goud vir Karen, 1 ster.
Karen, nicely done for 1 star. Yeah, very, very well done. It's sharp where it is the focus point. I can see the hairs on this orchid. I think that's what it is. And you've handled the depth of field very nicely to accentuate, and you've got these beautiful pinks and purples taking place. So creatively, I think it's nicely done. You've got a beautiful border around it, compositionally nicely done. Yeah, I think it's well done. I might have just pushed the vibrance just to bring out some of the greens on the leaf and the stem there. But other than that, maybe a little bit of dodge and burn just to accentuate those dark colors and bring out some of the whites. But otherwise, I think it's well done. Thank you.
Yeah. After the workout.
12.
Dan sê Merite vir Johan van Rensburg, 4 ster.
Yeah, Johan, nicely done. I like this image. It's full of drama. You can see this oak is a big oak. I think from a perspective, it is nice and dark. I like the way that you've processed this image. It's almost got a bit of a grungy type look and feel. I love the darks and then the reds that you've carried through on the laces and on his shoes. So that carries through very nicely for me. And the storytelling is nicely done. The background, from a lighting perspective, is very nice. But you know what I'm going to say about your borders? It's just a little on the bright side. But other than that, knak gedoen.
Okay. Vogel Vledeberg, vroegoggend.
Okay. Let's give that an 11.
Oops. I must rescore.
Come on, uncle.
Okay, 11, daar sê hy. Goud vir Grobbie, 4-ster.
Robbie, baie nice gedoen. So again, what do I like about this image? You've got these lovely textures in the horizon. You've got this foreground interest with the bucky and the trailer here. And then leading up on the top, you can see the resting spot on the top sort of right-hand corner. Interesting colors. Complementary again to the sky and the like. So what would I do differently here? I possibly would have been doing a little bit of dodging and burning to accentuate those beautiful contours and patterns up on the ridge. I might just lift the vibrance a little bit and, you know, just bring out some of the tracks here in terms of that dodging and burning. Is it upright? Is it leaning to the right? I don't know. Just draw a grid line in there on the vertical, just to see whether, you know, in line with this structure, whether this thing is right. I get a feeling it's slightly to the right, but that's me nitpicking. Dankie, Robbie.
Cool. Mooiste duin.
Yeah, 12.
Marita vir Terry, 4-star.
Terry, nicely done here. So again, we talk about leading lines. You got this leading line leading up and around. You got these geometric shapes. You got the contrast between the lights and the darks. And, you know, on the one side, it's smooth. On the other side, you've got the, what do you call that stuff? Vegetation taking place. And in the foreground, you've got all these lovely cars to show you all the people that are walking up there, and you've shown perspective. I think it's very well done. Again, there's not much you can do about the sky because that is what it is, but it does has a nice contrasting effect against the beautiful orange there. Just be careful of your ISO. It looks like it's pixelated. I don't know. It could be just because of the projected image, but I think nicely done there. Knap gedoen.
Okay. Protea.
Nee. Okay, this one, let's give it a 12, but it's a high 12. Sorry.
Say this for Doreen.
Yeah, Doreen, lovely. It is not as striking as your other Protea, but it is very well done. Nice and sharp. It's a different kind of Protea. This one just, I think, just have a look at your light and possibly your vibrance. Just move those sliders around. But also, I'm just looking at in the leaf here, this white thing that's wrapped around here. I don't know what the hell that is. But that for me is very distracting. And that's something that you can clone out. Or when you're posing the picture or the Protea, yes, daai ding. Hy pla vir my, hy lyk na 'n nommer 9. And I don't think you would have been happy if I gave you a 9 out of 15 here. Yeah, but yeah, so I think just take that out and do that. Just lift the vibrance there. Again, your border, just bring that down a little bit, but beautiful background, and it is nice and sharp related to that. And then just next to the 9 there, you see those white dots. Doreen, just clone those points out there. Because they are slightly distracting. You're allowed to do it because it's going to go into open color. Unless you put it into nature, then you can't be fiddling with those kind of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Reënboog meisie.
Yeah, 12.
Dis goud vir Pieter Thomas.
Yeah, Peter, nicely done here. You've seen this beautiful model, and you've blended her very nicely into your stage with the beautiful graffiti at the back that is picked up in her colorful outfit. The image is nice and sharp where it needs to be sharp. I think the pose is nice, and you've got this interesting blue hair taking place here, and then the lovely reflection on the vehicle. I think this really has quite a what's that word? kaleidoscopic type feel to it, almost like an LSD type feel and look about it. So I think it's well done. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, this is the end of the one section. We have a theme.
Okay.
The theme is this year, it's monochrome. There are 33 images.
Okay, great, Mrepis.
First one, kragtlyn.
So, 10, I'm afraid.
Goud vir Hans, 3 ster.
Great, Hans. So what I like about this image is the geometric shapes, the way that the base structure is leading down and into the horizon there. I think you've beautifully handled that. I like the way you've structured that. What has let you down, in my opinion, why not higher points? Just look around the structures. You've got some serious ghosting on taking place here. Now, these are the kind of things that one needs to bear in mind. The time of day that is taken is something that you use a polarizer. If you look on the left-hand side, on the top left, that 1V, you've got some banding take place. These are the kind of things that with mono, you've once got to just be very careful of. And also just look at your horizon a little bit. Is that beam on the top is leaning to the right? Now, I don't know, these things are always balanced. And if you look at the two concrete pillars, you would think that they would be balanced up. And especially when you've got these geometric shapes and forms, you need to make sure those things are aligned. And then also, from a contrast perspective, you know, I push that up a little bit. The foreground is nice here, but when you go into the sort of in the middle of the image or to the horizon, it's sort of almost like becoming a little soft. So bright daylight, I would take this thing up to f11, possibly f16. I'd have it on a tripod. I would possibly put in a polarizer, or if you've got an ND filter, stick that on there and take the shot again. But yeah, I love what you try to do here. It's given me some ideas, and just be careful of the banding and the like. But otherwise, well done. Thank you.
Yep. Gister.
Yeah, I like it. Let's give that a 13.
Marita for Elise Damon, 4 star.
Yeah, Liz, stunning. I love your sepia. I love your composition. I love the way you've posed your model. I just think it really works nicely for me. The fact that this thing is slightly at an angle, I think lends itself to the artisticness of this image. And I think it's beautifully handled. Only criticism I would have had is at the back, you see against that, I guess, air conditioning unit, you've got the safety warning signs. Just clone those things out. You don't need them in there. Thank you, Mrepis. And again, the border, turn it down a little bit, but it's not that distracting for me because I think it's picking up in color, some of the color of the actual image. I know you guys will say, but yeah, 1 minute you're saying this way, 1 minute you're saying that way, but I think it lends itself to this kind of photograph. So baie mooi gedoen, hoor.
Okay. Versamel maan.
Okay. 10.
10. As hy goud vir Hans, 3 ster.
Okay, Hans, nicely seen. The fact that you've got these lines again coming in from the left to the right, and in the middle of one of them, you've captured the moon. So it's sharp where it needs to be sharp. The only concern I've got relating to this is the image is flat. Here's where you need to boost the contrast quite a bit. Just be careful. It would almost seem along the lines you've got some form of ghosting. And also when you look at the moon, there's a sort of like a rim around that. So again, it's most probably, depending on the time of day, you know, these filters, I know a lot of guys don't like them. There's always a time and a place for them. is to seriously consider that. But I think it's good. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Tinkerbell.
All right, let's give that a 13.
Well done. Marita vir Karen, 1 ster.
Okay. Karen, I love what you've done here. Brilliant for a 1 star. I mean, you know, the storytelling here, Tinkerbell flying, your composite that you've done here, the beautiful smoke and what have you, beautiful background. Yeah, dis knak gedoen, hoor. I really like it. Any criticism? I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the face, but I get the idea of what you try to do. And for a 1 star worker, dis uitstekend, hoor. Dankie.
Okay. Dooie prag.
Dooie prag. Vrug, wat?
Prag.
Prag.
Dead beauty, I think.
Okay. Prag. Okay, yeah. Okay, 10.
10. I say silver. Anne-Marie, 4 star.
Okay, Anne-Marie, interesting subject matter. What I like is the composition that you've taken place, and I like the center part of this dead flower. Why not higher? If you have a look at the stem of this dead item, it's almost, there's some serious aberrations down the bottom here. I don't know if it's processing or whatever the case is, but it doesn't work. It's almost got blotchy gray bits in it. And then also when I've looked, it looks like you've cut this out and stuck it on a background, but I would have most probably gone with a dark background to accentuate the white and bits and pieces associated with that. Do the dodge and burn, lift up the contrast, but put it onto a charcoaly textured type feeling related to that. And, just accentuate that. And also the whites here, potentially a little bit burnt out. So just bring those back in camera raw on the lightness and light tab filters, tab sheets. So I think that, and then also just look at a border. Is there a white bit at the bottom there on the image at all or not? So one's just got to be aware of that as well. All right, thank you.
Yep. A satisfying drink.
Yeah, 12.
That's Marita for Peter Robertson, 4 star.
Yeah, Peter, nicely done. Lovely action. The water coming out of this fellow's mouth. The textures, your black and white conversion is lovely. I think in fairly difficult lighting, you've handled it well. Just be careful of the cropping on just above his head. Just maybe give it a little bit more breathing space. Your border, I think, is okay. And then, being in black and white, just have a look at those white marks on this, see whether you can maybe clone those things out a little bit. But other than that, I think nicely done. It would have been nice to have a bit of catch light in his eye, but I think you've done well there. Thank you.
Yep. Swart en wit zebra.
I like it. I'm going to be generous. 13. I like this.
Well done, Marita for Hans Prinsloo, 3 star.
Yeah, Hans, zebras in black and white always make for interesting images. And, when it comes up, it pops. I like the fact that you've done a nice black and white conversion. Could do a little bit more contrast, but that's me nitpicking. It's sharp where it needs to be sharp. You've got some light in his eye. And then in the background, you've got the other zebra, which adds context to what you're doing. I can almost feel the briskness of its hair on its mane. But yeah, I think very well done. Thank you. This one again, also, I would, if you've got Nick collection, is put it through the dark and light and center. And so you bring the lightness to the face of this zebra here, and then just bring the surroundings down a little bit so that your focus is 100% on the zebra.
Ja. Verlore veer.
Okay, 11.
Dis goud vir Belinda, 3 ster.
So Belinda, nice. You've got it sharp here in the front. You've got a sort of a nice blurred background, but you can see there's, and I think sometimes when we take these shots, you get it almost looks like they're moving, but they're not. I think it's just got something to do with the way that the lens processes the backgrounds there. So it's quite busy background, and I think that's possibly what's also let you down here. Also, when you look at this image, it is relatively flat. What do I mean relatively flat? It's grays. I see a little bit of white, but I don't see really blacks. And I think also, as I said earlier, that the background is a bit too busy for me. The focus is actually this feather. And again, with, I guess, dodging and some burning, maybe the dark and light and center, you just really want to bring the focus onto that feather. So maybe just go and try and reprocess this one a little bit and deal with this. Because also you doing this in mono is some of the bokeh, which is the blurred dots at the background, the whites, is just go with a spot healing tool and just clean it up from a housekeeping perspective. There's certain of these dots, just go and clean them up and you'll be amazed how much better the image will already look. Thank you.
Yep. Heart-shaped noses.
I want to give it a 13.
You may.
This is beautiful.
Marita, for Aand, 4 star.
Yeah, Diane. Oh man, they almost feel so cuddly, don't they? But what I like about it, there's a nice flow on this image. Compositionally nicely done. You've got this little branch here on the side, which I think adds to it. You've got that tree in the background, and some folks are going to say, yeah, but it's growing out of its head. I disagree there. This thing is pin sharp. I can, when I look at the hair on, I think, are these waterbuck? No, I don't know what they are. Is it waterbuck? Yeah. It's just got a lovely flow. I think your mono conversion is beautiful. I love the grass. It's not that busy, but yet it's still in its natural surroundings. I really, really like this image. Well done. Thank you.
Good. Een fout.
12. Repeat?
Hallo Simon.
Ek het gesê 12.
Wow, ek het net skus. Daar sê ek nie gewoon nie. Dis Marita vir Johan van Rensburg, 4 ster.
Yes, Johan, you're cleaning up, eh? No, lovely. I think from a mono perspective, I think you've handled this nicely. Here you can see the contrast, the darks, the blacks and the whites. You've got some interesting stuff taking place. You've got water on the flower. You've handled the background beautifully. And again, you know what I'm going to say about the border, but I can't only say any. But what I would do, Johan, is these little black marks on the white thing is clean those things up a little bit. They are slightly distracting, but it is about making this image crisp and sharp and also just cleaner. I'd also maybe just think about bringing down the lightness a little bit, push up the lights, and then, but other than that, and do some dodging and burning to accentuate in the leaves of this flower, the grays and bring that up. And some of the whites, just where you need to do is just bring that in, take it down to about 2-3% opacity and just do your dodging and burning associated with that. And this thing will pop, but very nicely done. Thank you.
Yep. Black and white stripes in the bush.
Yeah, I've got an affinity towards this, but yeah, a 12 there. Yeah, lovely.
Dit is Marita vir Marinda, 2-star.
Ja, Marinda, knak gedaan, hoor. You've got the catch light in the zebra's eyes. You've got this beautiful crop that you've taken place here. The background is not distracting. I would possibly push up the contrast a little bit. And then I would, in the eye, I would have just gone in with the dodging. It's just lighten it up a little bit, just to bring some little bit of definition. The light is there, but you just need to work it. And do some dodging and burning on the old zebra, just to bring a little bit more of the contrast there. But otherwise, very well done. Keep at it. I like it.
Yep. Windpomp.
Ja, kom ons gee daai I am battling here. Right, let's give it an 11.
Right, dis goud vir Grobbie, 4-star.
Yeah, Grobbie, nicely done here. What I like about this image is, we talked about the geometric patterns. You've got triangles, you've got circles, and you've got these beautiful blades taking place here. And in the blades, that is pin sharp. I can see the rivets and the rest of it. I like the light and the dark. So there you have your juxtaposition, darks and lights, the yin and the yang. I think you've handled that well. What I would have done, I can see the contrast in the actual windmill head. Down the bottom here, I'll do some dodging and burning just to accentuate and just push that up a little bit. Or even just in camera raw filter, move up your contrast a bit and just get that done. And in your sky there, just bring with a 4 or 5% opacity on the burn, just try and bring some of that cloud back, or bring down a gradient filter in Photoshop just to bring some of the color back there. But yeah, nicely done. I might have just offset it a little bit more to the left, but that's me nitpicking. The fact that it's smack bang in the middle maybe doesn't disturb me, but I think if you push up the contrast a little bit here, I think you're in for a very pleasing image. Thank you.
Yep. Walvis se oesterplaas.
12.
12 is Marita vir Terry, 4-star.
Yeah, Terry, lovely. Your eyes are automatically caught up with these drums, and then you've added something in there. You've got these boats in the background there, and you're thinking, well, geez, the storytelling here is rich. If I didn't know that this was what you said it was in the title, I would have thought, well, here we've got an environmental disaster taking place. So I think nicely done here. I would push up the contrast a little bit in terms of when you look at the water, you've got some dark stripes there. Just do that. And again, in the sky, just be careful. It's borderline pixelation, or you've got some noise taking place there. Camera raw filter define 2. Just push it through that. Or when you go to camera raw filter under the luminance sharpening tab, you just move that up and then increase your sharpness a little bit. But just do some dodging and burning just to bring that accentuation to this. I'm just thinking that one drum on the left there's cut off, and then there's something up on the top there. Again, either take that thing out on the water horizon, or then just crop this thing off on the right-hand side of that drum that we can see there. But otherwise, interesting subject, nicely done. Thank you.
Yep. Game Ranger Eric.
Yeah, 12.
And that's Marita for Trevor Borchets, 4-star.
Oh, Trevor, nicely done. You've obviously caught a very interesting subject here. This guy with his lovely moustache and his very bushy eyebrows. You can see, his hat that's got lots of houding. And then, nicely positioned here. Some light in his eyes. I think what you can do is you can move your contrast up a little bit, bring down your lightness just a tad, you know, and do some dodging and burning on the old fellow. And then I think you're in there. But yeah, nicely done. Thank you.
Yeah. Misty Mountains.
Yeah, 12.
Right, that is Marita for Albertina, 4-star.
Yeah, Albertino, nicely done as well. This is obviously the SWAT barrier again. Lots of mood in this image. You've got the leading lines on the road here. You've got nice depth of field. In other words, from the foreground to the background there, it's nice and sharp. And you've got this lovely cloud and the drama associated with that. I would have liked to have seen more contrast in the clouds. You either go into camera raw and lift up your contrast, or I would consider using the burn tool just to accentuate some of the differentiation in the colors there. And yeah, other than that, I think well done.
Yep. Holly.
I'll give that a 12.
12. Dis goud for Doreen Thomas.
So Doreen, lovely. You're obviously focusing on a lot of these flowers to master this one, and I like it. I love the texture and the feel. This is high key for me, and for me this one works because you've got the high key coming through in the veins of that flower, Protea most probably, and it's also carried in those little flowers in the stamen of this flower. It's sharp where it needs to be sharp. What I would possibly do, just be careful on some of the edges there. It is, it's almost like you've lost the detail and it's hanging there. It looks a little bit untidy. I'll just clone those things out there relating to that. But other than that, I think maybe a little bit of dodging, burning, just to accentuate some of the dark there. But otherwise, I think nicely done. Thank you.
Yep. Paul.
12.
It's a 12 for Peter Thomas, 8-star.
Yeah, Peter, lovely portrait here. Again, a gentleman with lots of character, which you've captured nicely. Your lighting is really nice from the left, which is got the catch light in his eyes, and this lovely flowing hair and this beard. And what I would do, Peter, is look at your contrast a little bit, and maybe use some dodging and burning, just to accentuate, you know, the textures on his face, and you know, just work those a little bit there. Background is nice, and then I think, Peter, just be aware of your borders. I just got a sense it could possibly a bit on the bright side. Thank you.
Sure. Spinners.
Oh, lovely, eh? La 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 la. Excuse me singing. I'd like to give that a 13.
Right, you might. And there's Marita for Elise Damon, 4-star.
Yeah, Elise, lovely. I love what you've gone and done here. You kept keeping yourself busy in lockdown. You've got these beautiful subjects, geometric shapes and the like. And I just like what you've done here. I love the colors. You know, it's almost a sepia with it, sort of like almost a chocolatey color coming through. Threes, you know, we always talk about odd numbers. I think that's nicely done. And your border, despite the fact that you've colored it, I think works here. So I like that. Just be aware. Do you see those marks, those white points, those things? Clone those things out. Those are not good. Those are things that guys get their knickers in a twist about, and it's something that you could fix up because it's in a minor section. So just fix it. Housekeeping, housekeeping, housekeeping. Thank you.
Yep. Zebras in die bos.
Okay, 11.
Silver for Salome, 5-star.
So Salome, what I like about the image is obviously the zebra. As I said earlier, I love the zebra, and you know, so I think you've handled that well. I think what has let you down here is primarily your processing. I feel the vignette that you've applied here is a little on the distracting side. The image looks overall quite bright. I would have maybe just dropped the vignette a bit, and I would have looked at increasing the contrast associated with that, and just do some dodging and burning on your zebra. Again, this one flower here on the left, this white blip. You know, if you just put your thumb over there, already look how different that image is. And this is something that you would enter into the monochrome section, so you would be able to do that. If you're putting that into a nature shot or nature category for the Impala trophy, you wouldn't be able to do that. And just all these other white spots in the background, in the trees there, just clone those things out. But primarily just do the dodging and burning and bring up your contrast slider and maybe just move up the sharpness a little bit. But otherwise, well done. Thank you.
Yep. Myrta, Queen of the Willis.
13.
Marita for Michael Feistel, 5-star.
You know, this I would have said with my close friends, this a bliksem. That bliksem is a very good shot. Yeah, stunning. I love the composition here. You can see the triangles, her leg and her body, her leg and the other leg is creating a triangle. Beautifully done, compositionally stunning. From a monoconversion perspective, you've done it. She's pin sharp around her face. This one, I think, would do very well in salons. I love the mist taking place at the bottom. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head here. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yep. Sarah met pompoen.
Yeah, lovely. Let's give that a 12.
Goud vir Reppies.
My uncle, knap gedaan. I love the image here. This lady, her face, and the textures that you've captured here with her pompoen. There's lots of storytelling here. I think you've handled this well. It's nice and sharp. And Wimripis, what I would have also done is maybe just some dodging and burning around to just accentuate her face a little bit. Maybe move up the contrast a little bit. Maar andersins, wel gedaan.
Okay. Cloudy Sunset.
Okay, I want to give that 11.
That is goud for Belinda, 3-star.
Okay, Belinda, great. You've handled the dynamic range relatively well. You've got tricky scene again, shooting into the light, but you've managed to capture this beautiful cloud formation, and you've got some silhouette taking place in the trees here. Why not higher points? Is that I almost feel that that center point is a bit on the blown out side. The foreground seems to me not as sharp as it should be. So one of two things: either I would darken the image so that the foreground then creates a silhouette against your landscape, which is actually this beautiful cloud formation, and bring down that lightness in terms of the center, just to balance that out a little bit. But I think other than that, well done, and keep at it. Well done. Thank you.
Yep. Monochrome Blom.
That's an impala plant, if I'm not mistaken.
Impala lily, I think so, yes.
Oh. I'm going to give it a 12.
12, dis 'n merit vir Diane, 4-star.
So Diane, I like what you've done here. What I love is this from the bottom right-hand corner. This line it makes it me think of zooming. I love that. And then you've got this impala plant that you've handled nicely here. So I think overall, I like your image and what you've experimented with. And from a lighting perspective, I think it's well done. What I might have done is just brought a little bit more lightness into the center of the impala lily, and just to show the sharpness associated with that. So that's really the dodging that we were talking about earlier, and maybe just bring the lightness to that plant a little bit more. But other than that, I think well experimented with. Thank you.
Okay. Zebras by Watergat.
12.
Marita for Marinda, 2 ster.
Yeah, Marinda, nicely seen. You've got repetition going here. You've got the water reflection sort of nicely handled. And I think your monochrome conversion is nice. You've got a catch light in the back zebra's eye. And from a crop perspective, I think you've done well here. What would I do to improve it? I'm not sure. I think this thing works. I'll maybe just lift the contrast up a little bit, but that's me again. But well done. Thank you.
Okay. Getting coffee.
Is it 12?
And that is Marita for Trevor, 4 star.
Yeah, Trevor, nicely seen here. I like the crop, although I'm probably going to contradict myself shortly. But from a face perspective, I think you've nicely done that. I think it's sharp where it needs to be sharp, can see his eyes, and I think that's nicely handled. I think what is slightly distracting is this white cup. It is a little on the bright side. You know, you can see he's wearing his face mask for the COVID-19. So I think that's the storytelling there. I'm just wondering if you cut out that cup just above or just below his zip, how much more of a more powerful image you've got, because the focus is actually the guy. The problem I find is my eyes are always going to the cup. So if I crop that out, I think you've possibly got a stronger image. But I think if you're going to want to show the cup, just have a look at your crop. Bring the crop out on the right-hand side that you're not cutting off his cuff, and then look at his hands. You're cutting off his hands. You're either going to show all of his hands, but don't amputate fingers and hands. So just pay a little bit of attention to that. The background or the stage that you've had imposed on, I think works for me too. Thank you.
Yep. Visserman.
Yeah, let's go with 11. If that's a silver, then he gets a 12.
That's a gold.
Okay, good. Happy with that.
Yeah, Futino, 4 star.
Okay, nicely done here. What I like about it is a leading line with this white wave that's coming through, and then the run up onto the beach is also the second one, which is smoother. You've added some lovely subject into the image. He's on the power intersect. I think so. From a rules of composition, I think you've done that nicely. You've got the sun rising, you've got some boats in the horizon, you've got this lovely cloud coming place here. The only thing I might have done is just consider the contrast, maybe some dodge and burn associated with that, just to accentuate some of the darks and the whites. But yeah, I think it's well done. Thank you.
Sure. Pull up.
Yeah, let's give that an 11.
Dit is goud for Elise Damon, 4 star.
Yeah, Elise, nicely done here. You can see this guy has been pushing himself. He's either been in the swimming pool or it's sweat. I'm not sure whether he's crying or whether he's laughing or whether he's just under severe pressure, but you've captured that emotion in his face nicely. Just be aware, I feel that his hands is a bit on the bright side. hands and arms, is just tone that down in camera raw filter. I'm assuming most of you shoot raw, because if you're in raw, you can do so much more in terms of process editing than you can do with a JPEG. And then just be aware of your border. It is also a bit on the bright side. The flash is obviously covering his right eye. And that's obviously, it's caught his right hand, and the angle that you've got there, I'm not sure that bothers me or not. I'm not sure. But just be aware of that. One wants to typically see the face. It's just, I think, primarily bring down the lightness here. And also then, as I said, the border we just need to pay attention to. Thank you.
Ja. Granaatblom refleksie.
Yeah. That's nicely done, eh? Let's give that a 12.
Goud vir Salome, 5 ster.
Yeah, Salome, baie nice gedoen, hoor. I love the detail in these things. Your reflection is remarkable. Your black and white conversion is great. And I like it goes from big to small. Rippies, ek wil dit verander na 'n 13 toe asseblief.
Right.
As jy nie omgee nie. So yeah, I just really, that was I was tossing up about that. It's a beautiful image. This one is also one of those that one would print and put it up in a frame. I think it's nicely done. Your border is beautiful. The reflection is nice. It's sharp. It's all the way sharp right from the front to the back. Dis baie goed gedoen. Dankie.
Okay, dis dan Marita vir Salome. So, agter die masker.
13. Ja.
Marita vir Michael Feistel, 5 ster.
Yeah, man alive. Our eyes go straight to her eyes and look at the beautiful detail. Look at the sharpness there. It is just remarkable. And then when you look at this mask with these flowing lines, and it's just really, really nicely done. It's almost surreal. And then the beautiful skin softening technique that has been applied there. And the subtleness in the background, or with her, I think this flower on her, the left-hand side of her face. Yeah, I think this is very well done. Thank you.
Okay. Padloper.
Yeah, that's a 12. Lovely.
Goud vir Reppies.
Yeah, my uncle, this nice gedoen, hoor. I love the emotion that you caught in this guy. You can see there's been some miles, a hard life. He's quite an oldish guy, I would imagine. But yeah, you've captured him nice. I love your background. Just be careful on his forehead there on the left, and at the back of his head there and around his neck. Do you see the ghosting there, Rippies? And around his ear? Pas op net daarvoor. Maar andersens, it's pin sharp, nicely done. So, Rippies, your housekeeping on his cap, there's some white dots. Just remove that stuff there.
Ja. Okay, dankie. Die ander pandemie.
Give that a 12.
En dis goud vir Michael, 5 star.
Yeah, it's a good image, a good PJ shot. It's quite disturbing in a sense, the battle against violence aimed at women and children. That little bear there and the darkness obviously resembling blood. And obviously an aspect in our world, in our country, that we all have to fight against. So I think it's nicely done. What I would have done here, I would have pushed the contrast. I would have made this grungy as all hell. I would have accentuated these blocks with burning just to bring it out, because you really want this thing to smack you between the eyes. I might have brought in Nick Collection, the light and dark on the little doll there, and had a bit of a darkness around the rest of the image. So yeah, Michael, I think you can do a lot more here that will push this one up a lot more. Is you need to move the contrast up, do the dodging and burning, and if you've got neck collection, light and dark and center, but focusing on the little bowl here and this bottom sentence if you can. Well done.
Yep.
Thank you. I got neck collection.
Good. Brilliant.
Moskeegang.
I love it. 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 12.
Sy goud vir reppies.
Ai, my uncle. Kom ons maak dit 'n 13. I like it. I tell you why. I love your geometric shapes. The detail that you've captured here. Your lighting is beautiful. And from an architectural perspective, this is very well done. Leading lines. You've got the shape again. Remember, we talked about the geometric shapes. You've got all of that taken here. Triangles, the stripes. So yeah, I really like that. Yeah, no, I think it's really well done, Umripis.
Ja, thank you. Swart en wit poppies.
Okay. 11.
And the silver for Michael.
Okay, so Michael, what do I like about this image is the subject, this poppy, but I also like the fact that you've captured a bit of a spider that's got this rim light associated with that. So why not higher mark? Is that I find the background quite distracting, but that is how it was taken, and that's the way that you found it. But I think, you know, if one separates this flower from that background by the background being darker, I think you would have had a real power image there. So how does one do that? Is that I think there's a technique where you're able to focus on the background and so that it is dark, and then use full in flash to bring in the front flower. So you don't have to take it out of its environment. So in other words, the backdrop you must set for maybe F11 or F16, so that when you take the shot and you use flash, the flash won't go to the background and it's automatically black. So in other words, it's a black background, but it will pop your flower here, and then you can do your dodging and burning, and then that against a black background or dark background with this little foreground interest with this spider, I think would really, really make it really look good. Thank you.
Right, that
Thank
I
you.
think is the last one. All right, we need to choose some winners out of the lot. So let us go try. Yes, you can I still remember how these things work? Of course not. Oh, yes. We go for the good juniors. Let's try again. View filter. Right, we got 2 13s and 4 12s. I think let's look at the 13s. It's number 1 and number 2.
Okay, ek kan nog nie sien nie. It's this one here. Number 1. Yeah, the zebra.
The zebra and the Tinkerbell.
Yeah, that for me is the winner. Tinkerbell.
Winner, best junior ad.
Well done. Yeah, it's a stunning image.
There's Tinkerbell for Karen. Een ster. Well done, Karen.
Well done.
Then now we have to look, try seniors. Oh, shoot. Filter. Let's see, we have 7 13s. Yes, see.
Okay, ja, dis
my 13s here.
ja, but there's some good work there, Rippies.
Yeah, I think the monos outshone the colors by far. Okay, this is gister.
Ja.
Koning Protea. Heart-shaped noses. Spinners.
Stadig, Rippies.
Oops, kies.
I'm still at the Protea. Ooh, ja.
Kom, ek gaan terug. Protea, Koning Protea. I'm so happy I get the thing to work, so I can't hold myself in. So, heart-shaped noses.
Ja.
Spinners. Myrta, Queen of the Willies. Granaatblom refleksie. And agter die masker. Shall we go through again?
Ja.
Let's try again. Gister. Koning Protea. Heart-shaped noses. Spinners. Myrta, Queen of the Willies. Granaatblom refleksie. Agter die masker.
So before I announce the winner, I just want to say all worthy winners and well done on your comms. The quality of work I'm really impressed with. I would like to suggest the ballerina. If you go back, I think that one. Yes, please. That for me is the winning image.
The senior, yes. Agree. En dit is dan nou Myrta, Queen of the Willies, by Michael Feistel. Beste senior
Well
photo.
done.
Thank you. Well done, Michael. So,
Thank you, Reppies. Thank you, Simon.
No problem. Fantastic work, guys.
okay, so daar's ons. Wie's nog hierso? So. Hulle nog almal hier so. Ja.
Ja. Goed, dit was baie goed vanaand, regtig.
Ja, nee, en ek dink die mannes het nogal nie te sleg gedoen nie. So ja. Baie dankie vir almal. Simon, baie dankie vir jou tyd en jou
Yes, welkom Rippies. Ek hoop julle het almal dit geniet en hopelik was ek nie te lenient en ook nie te streng nie.
Ja, dis doodreg, ons het dit geniet. So baie dankie vir almal se deelname, almal wat ingeskryf het in hierdie moeilike tye.
Ja.
En daai pragtige landskappe van jou, Simon, dit laat 'n mens verlang. So ja, dis dan sê ek goeienag almal, lekker slaap, warm voete.
Thanks.
Gone.
Bye.
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 Reppies.
Hallo.
Reppies. Onthou my foto's vir my stuur asseblief.
O ja, maak so.
Okay.
Good job, Father.
Kan niet zien.